So we're on?
We're on.
Okay. So hello to the people who are here. Janelle Casper Wolf is our tech person for tonight. And I was just talking to her about the weirdness of Crowdcast versus Zoom because we can't really see you. But anyway, I just want to welcome you to this community sharing space. And I know that lots of times Lama Rod is here, Lama Justin is here, and I was looking at the Bhumisparsha events page, and it said Lama Rod, Lama Justin, and friends. So I'm one of the friends. Anyway, I'm Rachel Wooten. And I'm a Tara person, as you can probably see behind me. And maybe some of you guys have... Hey, Janice. Maybe some of you folks have done Tara practice with me, which happens on the third Thursday of every month. So what we're going to do tonight, actually, this is one of my favorite sayings. Not all who wander are lost, which I think is from The Lord of the Rings. Tolkien. So I just wanted to say that because we're going to wander around, but we're not going to be lost. And if we get lost, we get lost together. There's that. So what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to ask folks to sign on and to let Janelle know by giving some kind of signal if you're willing to show up on the screen and have something to say, because one of the things I'd like to do is just check in with people, just maybe get a few people to check in so that we can all get a feeling about kind of where people are tonight, what's on people's minds. Excuse me. And I can certainly tell you what's on my mind. I will do that. Anybody who knows me knows I do that. So, but it would really be great if some people would come forward and talk about what's on your mind. So we kind of have a little room for that. And then ultimately what we're going to do is a Tara practice. And so you can see behind me, this is not too difficult to tell. This is green Tara. And this is a Tonka of green Tara in the middle with the 21 Taras around her. So we're going to do one of the emanations tonight. We're going to do the yellow all victorious Tara. And it just came to me that that would be a thing to do because she's a long life deity. And so these different emanations are really a way for us to explore different manifestations of enlightened consciousness, and to imagine that enlightened consciousness emanating from the realm of a subtle female Buddha. So all the different 21 emanations just give us different angles to look at that, and in a way they each have a specialty. Some of them are life increasing, some of them are protecting, some of them are peaceful, some of them are wrathful. And actually, it's really true that each of them contains all of them. So you could pick any one and you'd still be covering the ground. But when you pick one, as I have tonight, that kind of gives you a central starting point to go from there. So I just kind of imagine that given everything that's been going on for such a long time and everything that's still going on and is going to continue to go on, that having enough life energy to show up, just to show up for your life, whether that involves work or kids or practice or whatever it is, just having the energy to show up for yourself and other people is super important. It's also nice to have a practice where we can imagine sending out light and energy to people who might need it. So that's the reason I picked this particular Tara. So one of the things I'd like to do, and we might as well get started, is see if anybody is willing to come on the screen with me now and have something to say about what's going on with you. And maybe in that context, you could say, this is what's really on my mind right now, and this is kind of what's draining energy from me. And this is a place where I get energy back. So Janelle is saying, just drop a message in the chat box and she'll invite you on the screen. And I'd really appreciate that. I was hoping tonight would be Zoom instead of Crowdcast so that we could see each other, and it's a little easier for people to wave and say, yeah, I'd really like to say something. So I think we're just going to figure it out. But to figure it out, somebody's got to drop a message in the chat box. So while we're waiting to see if anybody will do that, I want to read a couple of poems. This, we're just one night off the full moon. Last night was the full moon. Okay, Laura. Let's see, Janelle, if you can bring Laura up on the screen. And I think Lama Rod talked about in Medicine Buddha, this is a pink moon, and here we have a pink color. Hey, Laura.
Hi.
Hi. So you're brave. Thank you for volunteering. How are you doing? What's going on with you? What's on your mind?
Well, Rachel, I just moved after 28 years in one place to yesterday, literally just moved. And big change. Not just that I moved to a different place, but also that it's a completely different situation in just about every way you can describe.
Wow.
So big transition, lots of physical exhaustion. So I haven't been able to join the tarot practice hardly ever. I've only been to one because I keep having work commitments that conflict. But I have your book, and I've been just in this time trying to do a red, swift, and courageous tarot practice to help give me support for just trying to deal with all the just tons of feelings about this type of big change.
Wow.
And wanting to make it really, there's so much positive in all of it. It's just that there's a lot that it's like every minute is like, oh no, now what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
There's just a lot.
I bet. Well, so that is really helpful. And I can also, it's helpful to hear that. And I can also imagine it has to be super draining on every level. Emotional and physical and every other way. Can you say anything like in any point of your day that kind of brings you up a little bit? Like you said there's a lot positive, but is there something that is actually that brings you energy or sort of life-giving?
Well, that's a little complicated right now just because um, usually what's great for me is a restorative yoga practice.
Oh.
But there is literally no place for me to practice just yet because there's boxes still everywhere. There's just a lot being done.
Okay.
I've moved in with a roommate, and she actually moved in ahead of me. So now all my boxes are sort of sitting, waiting for more or less for the weekend when she's not going to be working and she'll have more time for us to figure out how we're going to actually consolidate our things in together.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit not friendly for my normal rest practice.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you'll hear something tonight that gives you a sense of where some restorative energy might be had. Yeah, I do. And it's something I think about a whole lot, honestly. And all through the day. I mean, for me, sometimes I have a lot of plants in my yard. I'll just go out and hang out with a plant because, yeah, there's some amazing life going on out there. And when the human life seems awfully dubious, I just head outside. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I did. My dog of the last 9 years is with me, and of course he's having a lot of anxiety about this too, because this is very different for him too. But it's a good thing to just sit with your animal, and if he needs to be comforted, comfort him, and try to catch him when he's relaxing, because there's nothing like sitting with a relaxed dog for relaxing you.
Well, that's a good one. Okay, well, Laura, thank you. Thank you so much for coming forward. And I'm going to put my website in the chat box, because on the website are all the recordings of all the Tara sessions we've done. So,
awesome. Great.
And there is one of Red, Swift, and Courageous Tara. So if you want to go back and listen to it, it's there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate your coming forward. Yeah. Bye. So maybe, since Laura broke the ice for us, maybe one more person will come forward and do a similar thing. And then I'm going to wander around some and see what else comes forward. And, eventually we're going to do this practice together. And I think while I'm waiting for somebody else to get brave, I wanted to mention that, because we did have this full moon that Lama Rod was referring to as the pink moon. I'm not sure about that. I don't know where that comes from, the pink moon. But the moon, as many of you may know, I'm looking for this particular poem, is a symbol of enlightenment in so many Buddhist traditions. And there are just some beautiful, very short poems about the moon, written by a Japanese poet named Izumi Shikibu, a woman who lived around right straddling the 9th and 10th centuries, the end of the 10th, the beginning of the 11th century. So that's how all these poems are. So I just want to offer you these moon poems as they're kind of like koans. Watching the moon at midnight, solitary mid-sky, I knew myself completely, no part left out. Yeah. And this one I think is kind of humorous. Although I try to hold a single thought of Buddha's teaching in my heart, I cannot help but hear the many crickets' voices calling as well. I like that thing of the little crickets in my head. And then here's this last poem, which I think really speaks to how we can often feel in a really tough place, but the light is still there. So this is, although the wind blows terribly here, the moonlight also leaks between the roof planks of this ruined house. So I like to think, it reminds me of, I cannot remember the name of this poem by Leonard Cohen, but the refrain, I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Ring the bells that still can ring, forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And so this idea that even though some things may feel really dilapidated or difficult, that the moonlight can come into those spaces. So that was one of the things I wanted to wander around with tonight. I just wonder if anybody else is going to be as brave as Laura and come forward. Anthem, thank you. Thank you, Janelle. See, it takes a village. And actually, one of the things that that I want to talk about tonight as life-giving and life energy lifting is the refuge practice, just the simple refuge practice. If you didn't do it, we do that as a prelude to any other practice, but the practice in and of itself is profound. And so this idea that we can take refuge in Tara and everything she represents, we can take refuge in all the wisdom texts that we've ever been connected to in our lives, and we can take refuge in the Sangha. And many of us belong to more than one Sangha. And some of us belong to different Sanghas of different faith traditions. So just like that little thing right there, the Sangha has the answer to the question. What's the name of that Leonard Cohen song? So thank you, Janelle. I can be very stubborn. I really need to hear from one more person. Speaking of Sangha, we all need to know that we're here. I need to know you're here. Yeah. So, one of the things that I was going to mention tonight, in connection with this yellow Tara of increasing life energy, is this quote by Howard Thurman, who was an African-American author and theologian and civil rights leader, educator, just a phenomenal human being, who lived from 1899 to 1981. I would recommend anything he ever wrote to you, but this is a pretty famous saying of his that has gotten around. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. So we're going to talk about that. But first we're going to talk to Janice, because she has kindly agreed to show up. Thank you, Janice. We hope. Technology can sometimes be challenging. So as Chanel is figuring out how to bring Janice up, I also want to say that this is a great practice to be doing right now because it is spring, and yellow is certainly a color that it seems like it's one of the first colors to show up in the spring. You know, the daffodils, and there she is. Hey, greetings, fellow human. Nice to
Oh, I was hesitant because, well, I'm not moving, but my life circumstances are about
Wow.
as Laura's.
Wow.
Okay. I am getting a mediated divorce from my husband of 40 years. It's a good thing though, everybody. You gotta clap. It's good. He's happy too.
Oh.
Oh yeah. We actually talked on the phone for the first time because I've kept it at text and email only.
Yeah.
That's kind of all me and Tara can handle, you know. For about 4 months. But we got kids, and so like we're connected, and finally yesterday I just said, okay, let's talk on the phone because we had a Zoom appointment with our lawyer today.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm just describing a small part of what's going on. And of course, we're all in COVID still.
Yeah.
So that, and then my dear mother passed away in 2020, and I wasn't able to see her because she was in a nursing home. So I would go to the home. It was a 1-floor home, and sing to her outside her bedroom window. But she was in hospice for like 7 weeks, and I couldn't see her. It was so like all this. That's what I mean. It's just like, and fortunately, the best thing that happened this year in 21 is I saw an ad in Lions Roar for a Natural Dharma Fellowship. Yeah, so I've started in February. I met Lama Willa. I've met Lama Willa online and just fell in love right away. So I've been, and then I met Lama Rod at Love and Rage retreat. So now I've been seeing what Bhumisparsha offers me, and I didn't know I was going to meet you today, so I'm thrilled because I of course, love Tara, and it's the first time I've meditated for a long time. It's what really helped me in the marriage, to tell you the truth. I mean, I think it kept us together for a while. Anyway, and it's really the first time I've studied Tara. So I'm really wide open to hearing everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Janice, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and your energy is really like the both and of everything.
Well,
you're laughing.
Today's been amazing. Well, yeah. Well, I think what happened though, see, I took Lama Willa's wakeful body class this morning. And so I'm learning the Tibetan yoga. That's my first. And my body today I feel like I could go run a marathon or something. I'm feeling good because it's just time to feel good, even though it's a tumultuous world, and I am happy. I'm so grateful we can be online together, at least,
Yeah, I do know. I agree. Well, thank you.
Does anything more you want me to share?
I think that's great. You did just what I want, which is this is what's going on with me, and this is what's tough, and actually this is what's helping.
Yes, and then the Tara, like I said, the guided meditation is new for me. Then in my meditation practice, and
Okay.
started that with Lama Willa, and it's just really been a revelation kind of in my practice.
That's great. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
will she get me off, or do I do something?
I think that's it. So I think what I would like to do now is I want to mention just a few things, and please, I just never remember everything, obviously, but I'm not going to read what's in the chat box, but I would really like to invite people to put anything or anyone in the chat box that you would like to, because this is a great, and that includes you, this is a great practice to do for people who are sick or struggling. It's a great practice for us to do for ourselves if we're sick or struggling. I think it's a great energy to send into the Bardo realms when people have just crossed over, or, in some recent time have crossed over. I just want to lift up, this terrible continued killings, particularly of Black men. But today I heard, it happened a few days ago, but I just heard about the killing of Mario Gonzalez, and it sounded very much like the similar situation of George Floyd. So just the pain of the BIPOC community and the families, the parents, the siblings, the spouses, the children, I really want to lift that up. And kind of consciously bring it into Tara's realm. It's already in Tara's realm, but I think it helps for us to think about that and set those intentions and send those intentions out. And likewise with like what Janice was saying, that the COVID thing has not gone away. And there's this massive amount of suffering that has happened. All these people who have died. I was listening on NPR the other day, the really wonderful people, I think it was on 1A, talking about all the different professional folks who are suffering from PTSD, from journalists to healthcare workers to, you name it. And so, to frontline workers, to people. I just got off a call with this amazing, I love this church, this Progressive Baptist church that I belong to. The call was really all about Medicare for all. And so the person who came on the call to really give us a very succinct education about the healthcare disparities, which I'm sure you all know are just insane in this country. There's so much that needs to be done. And there's so much that could be done. So, what's in the way of that, those things that need doing, that aren't getting done, that are causing so much suffering, is hard-heartedness, I think. And maybe underneath that is a lot of fear. So the idea that we can bring all beings into this sphere for healing. It doesn't matter what side of any equation any of the beings are on. It's a profound opportunity, these practices, really, energetically. It's a really profound opportunity. I say this often when I teach, and you'll hear this. We go through these preliminary prayers before we do the practice, the 4 immeasurables. where you ask that all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Well, happiness in that context actually means the spontaneous joy that arises when you actually get, you don't have this separate self, and when you actually get that we're all existing in this phenomenal web of interdependence that we can't even comprehend. That's what the word happiness means in the four measurables. So when we were wishing for all beings to have happiness, that's not really difficult. It's like, all those senators right now who want to filibuster these wonderful bills that might help a lot of people, if they had this kind of happiness, they'd be voting for these bills. So I think these prayers and these practices and refuge, it gives us a place to land where we can experience a kind of spaciousness of our own awakened consciousness, that where we can authentically be praying for all beings. I think sometimes it's really hard for me, in my everyday life. I live in a state that hasn't expanded Medicaid yet. Do I feel generous towards those legislators? Often not so much, but in the practice, it really can arise, that sense. And so I feel like the practice is such an opportunity to enter into this fully awakened space where we can deeply pray for the benefit of all beings. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to offer it tonight. Maybe some of you do medicine Buddha practice with Lama Rod. These are sets of deity practice. They're really all structured the same. They kind of have the same energetic underpinnings. And so we're going to do an actual sadhana practice tonight where we're going to go through these steps. The structure is way over 1,000 years old. And each one of the steps has its own invitation of bringing in light. And yeah, you can just hear the different steps, and I'll have some things to say about it as we go through it. And so hopefully it'll be a chance for you to, hear something maybe a little different than something you heard some other time. My teacher just has given these initiations into the 21 Taras again this year, last weekend actually, in January. And as much as I've done this and as often as I've heard him teach, I always hear something new or understand something differently. And so as part of that, one of the things I wanted to read before we practice, this is a short song of praise to Tara by the Master Atisha. And it was translated by my teacher and several people in Switzerland from the Tibetan. And so I'm going to read the lines, and I might stop at a couple lines and say, here you might hear this. But mostly I'm just going to read this prayer. I bow down to you, O great compassionate mother. I bow down to you, mother of 1,000 eyes and arms. That is a nod to Avalokiteshvara. I bow down to you, Mother Tara, supreme among healers, which is a nod to the medicine Buddha. As is this one. I bow down to you, Mother Tara. You are the medicine that heals all ills. I bow down to you, Mother Tara, compassionate and skilled in all methods. I bow down to you, Mother Tara. You are the all-supporting earth. I bow down to you, Mother Tara. You are the cool water. I bow down to you, Mother Tara. You are the warm and ripening fire. I bow down to you, Mother Tara. You are the air where each thing grows. I bow down to you, Mother Tara. You are omnipresent like space. So this poem is actually new to me this year. And I really love it. And again, one of the reasons I really love it is, you can actually hear, the 7 homecomings that Lama Rod talks about. And the earth is one of those homecomings. And then this poem is just naming all the elements, including space. So, anyway, I just love that. And I do want to say, for those of you who are interested in this, I think if you go to my website and you click on the practices page, there's a line that says several poems. Click here for these poems, and this poem is one of the ones that's there. If you're interested in it, you can go get it there. And I do want to say something. This, I would like to think this is not shameless marketing, although it could be shameless marketing. But it is a source of great joy, this book about Tara that I wrote. Today is actually the 1-year anniversary of its publication. We launched this book a year ago today. And so I think it's really neat to be here in the Bhumisparsha community on the anniversary of this book launch. So I just want to share that because that is a great joy to me. So I would just say, let's jump in and do this practice. And you don't really have to do anything, but if you want to do something, Janelle and I put the praise to Tara, this particular Tara, in the chat box, as well as the mantra. And I think she'll bump that up here again in a minute. And so I just invite you to relax and go through these steps in as embodied a way as you can. I really invite you to do these kind of visual and kinesthetic imaginings. And, anything that needs explaining, I'll explain it. But mostly what you can do if you want to, when we get to the point of the practice where we recite the praise, please do that. I won't be able to hear you, but you can hear you. And when we get to the end of the part that I'm going to lead you through, we're going to recite her mantra. And I think probably what I'll do is maybe 50 or so. And then we get to the end of that. We're going to rest in silence for a while. Just going to rest in in the open space. And also you can feel, when you stop chanting the mantra, in that silence and in that space, you can feel the vibration of it. And it's interesting to see what arises inside as a result of our intentions and the visualization and the mantra chanting. So after we practice, it takes about 25 minutes, actually, the whole thing. We'll have some time left for questions or comments. I love for people to say, look, this is the experience I had. It's pretty wonderful because we all have a different experience. And so if people are willing to share something about their experience, then we all get to participate in that too, vicariously. So I really encourage people to do that if they will. You're going to hear some Tibetan phrases. Don't worry about those either. This really is a classic sadhana practice, and I do it a little differently, anyway, as you can imagine. So, we actually begin this practice with something that, if you've been hanging out with Lama Rod at all, you'll be very familiar with this. We begin the practice with an inner image of space. Sorry, so just allow to come into your mind's eye an amazing image of space. Whatever really appeals to you, it could be the ocean, it could be the sky, it could be a scene from the Hubble telescope, whatever image of space speaks to you, and just know that as you're calling that up and visualizing it, that image is actually reflecting back to you the quality of your own already awakened consciousness. And that's one of the reasons we think about space so much, because that is the quality of our consciousness. It's already awake, even if it gets kind of cloudy sometimes. So we start out with this wonderful image of space, remembering it is full of incredible potential. Anything. Space contains anything that ever was, anything that is, or anything that will be. And so anything can manifest out of that space. And what we're going to do is invite the entire mandala of Tara with all her 21 emanations to just appear in front of us. And if you want any help with that, you can look at this tanka behind me. But you don't need to do that either. Like, some people are better visualizers than others. You can just imagine light, or even just hold in your mind the idea of Tara surrounded by all her 21 emanations. And they're all appearing to us in subtle bodies of light, different colors light, with green Tara in the center and all the other ones around her. And then we're going to imagine that we're surrounded by our teachers. Like, you can see them around you, you can see them around Tara, but to feel them very close. And these can be individuals who are living on this plane now or not. They can be from 2,000 years ago. They can be from any tradition that means something to you. But when you think about these teachers, guides, guardians, whatever you want to call them, you know, these are the people that are partly responsible for me even showing up here tonight. So think of them specifically. These amazing, we can call them our circle of care. These amazing beings, many of whom have been teaching for a couple of thousand years in different forms. And we can just feel our gratitude for them, but also their love for us. And then to imagine that we're surrounded by our friends and loved ones and supporters, and they're surrounded by their friends and loved ones and supporters. And it just goes on and on and on into infinity, until we have really imagined, kind of like on the cushion with us or beside us or around us, this infinite number of beings who can benefit from our practice. And then whatever it is that you really want help with, or you wish other people out there could receive help, imagine that you're putting all that at Tara's feet. And then to really think and feel in the way that's most meaningful to you, how you would say it, that for all these beings and with all these beings, I am taking refuge in this vast enlightened consciousness that Tara embodies and represents. And I'm taking refuge in these amazing wisdom texts from any tradition that means anything to you. They can be oral traditions, written traditions, poetry, music, whatever. I would say the Dharma texts, not just Buddhist Dharma, but the texts that have brought you life and energy and meaning, that we take refuge in those wisdom texts, and that we take refuge in our Sangha. So we've created a little Sangha here tonight, just being together. We're all parts of other Sanghas. We're part of the Bhumisparsha Sangha. But we're also a part of the Sangha of practitioners all over the world, and the ancestral practitioners, the people who've done this practice for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, which is why we still have it. So we have the lineage teachers, that community of lineage teachers, But we also have these communities of practitioners. And I also like to take refuge in our wise and helpful and compassionate ancestors who wish us well, and in the earth, in silence. These are like the 7 homecomings. We can also take refuge in our own awakened consciousness, which it really is there. So with all these beings and for all these beings, we take refuge in all these things. And then here are the 4 immeasurables. We ask that all beings would have happiness and the causes of happiness, that all beings would be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow, that all beings could come to realize we actually cannot be separated from the sacred happiness which is sorrowless, that we could live in equanimity without too much attachment or too much aversion, and live believing in the equality of all that lives. And then we can also pray this deep, profound intention, which is known as the Bodhisattva prayer. But it is still it's really the reason for doing the practice, that we really pray that we could wake up 100% in order to be of benefit to all living beings. That would be so amazing. And so now, having said these preliminary prayers, we're going to invite Yellow Tara, she's called Yellow All Victorious Tara, to come into the foreground. So you can just imagine that she's emanating from the mandala and coming now right in front of all of it, so we can really see her. And she's extremely beautiful. Her expression is really peaceful. And her left hand is at her heart in the gesture of refuge, just like this painting of Tara behind me. And her right hand is open in the gesture of supreme giving, meaning she gives us everything. And she's holding this yellow vase, which increases our life energy. And so now we're going to imagine, and you don't have to do this in Tibetan or Sanskrit or anything, just however you would imagine it, that her top 3 chakras are adorned with the syllables Om Hum. And the blue syllable hum begins to radiate blue light into the realm of the wisdom beings and initiatory deities, and invites them to come here. And so in response to that invitation, you just take a moment to really sense the arrival of countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. It's like the whole space is filled with them, and that all the vivid energies of Tara and all her emanations are filling up this mandala. And so the wisdom beings are here. And then we're going to ask the enlightened ones for purification. Om Sarva Tathagata Abhishit Samam. This part is really fabulous, because not only have all these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas joined us, but these powerful Dakinis, these white female, they remind us of goddesses. They are the sky goers. They can be from one place to the next instantaneously. That we imagine this whole crowd of these white Dakinis, and each one of them is carrying a white vase. And as we just ask for purification, we're going to imagine that there's one of these Dakinis standing in front of you and pouring from this vase this nectar, which is really like liquid light, into your open crown chakra. And again, just take a moment and see if you can sense this energetic flow of light that has enough heft that it really can feel like liquid, and that it's pouring through us in all our various bodies in every conceivable way we exist, form, formlessness, subtle. This light is flowing through us in all these ways, and as it's doing that, it's pulling out any kind of negative leftover energetic residue that might have sort of gotten stuck in there somehow. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity. You know, we're all experiencing a lot of stress, a lot of grief, all kinds of emotions. I think we're so often in fight, flight, and freeze, we don't even know when we're not. It's happening so much. This is really an opportunity to let go, to really let go. Just imagine this amazing substance pouring through your body, pulling out any kind of energetic residue, and all that is leaving your body through the lower doors. And maybe you can take a deep breath here, and this is a great opportunity to also feel the support of the chair or the floor underneath you so that you really can let go of anything that you need to let go of. And then here's a place where I like to invite all of us to make our personal offerings to Tara. And this is where you can offer her anything. You can offer her, I'm telling you, anything. Things you don't like, things you do like, things you wish you hadn't done, things you're glad you did, things you thought that you would like to not think, but you did anyway. And some of the most beautiful moments of your life, and actually what you are hoping for. I mean, you can offer her everything. It's like offering it into space, offering it to the mother, however you want to think about it. In this instance, the mother is representing herself as this phenomenally beautiful yellow Tara. So just imagine that you're just offering her everything you need to offer her, and that she takes it all, and she has the capacity to transform it into blessings, particularly wisdom blessings that we can kind of see. Yeah, I think this was about that. Well, this happened, it really means a lot to me, but just that we can receive a blessing, the basis of which is actually our own life experience. And she's giving it back to us as a blessing, just showering us with that. And who knows, you might be able to pass that blessing on to somebody 10 minutes after Speaking of needing enough energy, apparently my computer really needs this practice. I'm really sorry. Okay, so we got the energy going again. So I just want to finish what I was saying, which is the Sanskrit for these offering substances. Aryatara, Yasapara, Wira, Argan, Pajam, Puspe, Dupe, Alake, Ganje, Navaje, Shabda, Pratitse, Soha. Okay, so the praise is up there a little bit in the chat box. So if you want to read the praise with me, please do it. I praise the one seated above the heads of the Tathagatas, the enlightened ones, who enjoys complete and infinite victory, who is deeply honored by the bodhisattvas who perfected the transcendental virtues. And those are the 6 paramitas: generosity, diligence, austerity, peacefulness, patience, and meditation. So here's the visualization. It seems a little bit complicated, but I just invite people to simplify it in such a way that you can just enjoy this. And if you're not a visualizer, you don't need to worry about that at all. The thing that's really nice is just to hear it, because there's so many teachings embedded in the description of the visualization. So I just invite you to listen to this and use your imagination and take it in, and to imagine that you're taking it in, whether you think you're taking it in or not, and then simplify it into something that really works for you. And then we'll chant the mantras together. And as I said, I'm just going to do half a mala tonight because I want to have some time to hear from you all. And we'll have a little silence in the end, and then we'll dedicate the practice, and then we'll come back. Okay. So here's the visualization. You can imagine, again, yellow tar from her heart, as well as space in her hand. These orange, yellow rays of light are streaming out in the form of hooks. And that light is collecting all of the goodness of existence and nirvana. Think of goodness as like awakened consciousness, kindness, beauty, from these realms and also from the beings in those realms. And the light especially collects the power of long life nectar from all the awakened ones, those who've attained the deathless state. And so that nectar, this nectar that's been collected up with this light, enters into your crown chakra, as well as anybody that you're concerned about. So you can send this anywhere and everywhere, but also particularly really allow yourself to imagine this light containing this long life nectar is coming into your own crown chakra. And what that does is it eradicates the dangers of life. It purifies disturbances of life energy, as well as the fears and dangers of the god Yama, who's the god of death. And through this, we attain the deathless state of the Buddha. So this practice is really help us increase our life energy, but also to decrease our fear. And the mantra, which is in the chat box again, Tari Tutari Sara Ayu Jana Ribram Soha. Ayu is life energy and Jana is wisdom. And we can maybe talk a little bit later about the wisdom of emptiness, actually how wisdom gives us life energy, this particular kind of wisdom. So when we recite this mantra, we're really just asking Tara for a download of light that helps increase our life energy and also our awakened wisdom. So I'm going to repeat the mantra, and I would love for you to do it if you feel like it. And if you don't, just listen and enjoy it. Om Tari Tutari Sara Ayu Jana Ribram Soha. Om Tari Tutari Sara Ayu Jana Ribram Soha. Om Tari Tutari Sara Ayu Jana Ribram Soha. Om Tari Titardir Sawa Ayu Jana Vidu Seva. 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 Go figure. I can't explain that one. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I think the internet connection failed. So let's dedicate the practice, even with all the blips and blurbs, the energetic disturbances of the internet. Just coming back to the beauty of this practice and the beauty of being together. And let's dedicate the practice. Let's really first imagine that we're going to, in this process of dedication, that first we're going to release all the beings we've invited to come, all of our teachers and guides and guardians, that we are going to release all those beings back into the realms from which they came, and likewise all the other beings that we may have invited, we just release them and ask them to go back and not be in our space anymore, and we thank them for their help. And then we begin to imagine that all of the emanations of Tara dissolve into her, into green Tara. And then we imagine that the green Tara just dissolves completely into light, until finally what we're looking at is this amazing burst of light into the entire universe, and also coming into us. And so we just take the opportunity to once again absorb even more light, to imagine it coming into our heart, where our own Tara resides in our own heart. You can imagine her in a lotus throne inside your own heart. And we just accept that light again. And imagine it's now shining forth from your own heart to whomever you meet. And so then we dedicate the practice. We really ask, we pray that whatever positive potential has been generated by our doing this practice together, that we dedicate it towards the healing and awakening of all beings. We especially dedicate it to whomever we may have had in mind tonight, and we dedicate it to our own healing and awakening, but the healing and awakening of all beings everywhere, with absolutely no exceptions. And so we're back. It's interesting because at the end of the practice, after everything dissolves, we come back to that image of space, which is where we started, So what I would like now is for someone to put something in the chat box so that Janelle knows that you're willing to come on board and maybe share a little bit of what your experience was like. And if anybody thought of any other concern that they might want to share with the community, please do that too. But it would be good to hear from you. So I hope that y'all will get over your shyness or your hesitancy, because it would be good for us to hear from each other at this point. Thanks, Janice. I appreciate that. And I'm glad. It is good to be in community. I like being in community with people's pictures a lot better than this oddly solitary existence that does not reflect the wisdom of how interconnected we are. Anyway. Well, if no one is willing to come forth and share, I guess it's time to sign off. I can say that it would still be nice to hear from people, but if that's not what you're up for, then it may be time to go to bed. Yeah, I teach the third Thursday of every month. I do one of the Tara emanations. I think we're doing the 7th Black Tara next time, which is one of the wrathful emanations. I'm very fond of all of them, but the wrathful ones are particularly interesting and powerful. So, I think, Janelle, if we're going to sign off, maybe you can hang on for a little while and you and I can have a little chat. And yes, at Bhumisparsha. So if you look on the Bhumisparsha website on the events page, on the calendar, it's there every month. And there's usually a little blurb that says which one we're doing. So, okay, folks, thank you for your practice, and I wish you well, and I hope that you felt some benefit from the practice, and that it will, help sustain your life energy. So, I wish you all a good night.